I'm Matt Miller.
And I'm Hannah Elliott, and this is Hot Pursuit.
All right, today on the show, because we're wrapping up the year 2023 and looking forward to 2024, Hannah, I thought we'd talk about what we're most excited about. You just put out a story about the coolest things, and last week we talked about our winners and losers for 2023, but we'll talk about what we're looking forward to for 2024. I also want to talk about the Ford F-150.
Yes.
As you know, I love trucks, and I'm a huge lover of the F-150. And they had a little bit of a news peg this week.
Yeah, and actually, I'm just remembering, this was the vehicle I learned to drive stick on way back in the day, my dad's old Ford.
That is
so
cool.
I do have a little bit of a soft spot for old, big black Ford trucks.
That is
tough to beat.
That is awesome. Yeah, agreed. And so the news is that they're, for the 47th year, the best-selling truck in America. For the 42nd year, they're the best-selling vehicle overall. Americans just love trucks.
Shocking if you don't know that already.
Now, I think everyone knows it already, but I always think, look, I'm a Ford fan, but I always think GM, sometimes outsells Ford. But since they have their trucks split into different brands, GMC and Chevy, Sierra and Silverado, they don't count them together. I always think that's kind of unfair.
I think General Motors could combine their brands if they wanted. If they really care and they want to go head-to-head with Ford, combine the brands.
All right.
Then we'll see.
It's a good point, and our star auto analyst for Bloomberg Intelligence, Kevin Tynan, agrees with you. We talked to him earlier. Let's listen to what he had to say. Dan Barbosa sent out a press release yesterday from Ford saying, it's the 47th straight year as America's best-selling truck, 42nd straight year as America's best-selling vehicle. And every time I see that, it's like, I'm sort of proud. I'm an F-150 lover. I had the first Raptor. But on the other hand, I feel like if you put Silverado and Sierra together, they would sometimes outsell the F-150. So it's not really a fair claim, really. GM trucks sometimes outsell Ford trucks. What do you think?
Well, then you could put everything on that platform together and, where does it end? So I think when you talk about a nameplate, that's a legitimate claim, because then otherwise you would just put it all together on the platform, that T1 platform, and you get into Suburbans and Tahoes and right, because it's all underpinned by the same thing. So I'm okay with making that call.
Hannah, this must be something that you note often in stories because it's just it's American car lore, right?
If you don't know, it's a really shocking statistic to sort of throw out there and get people's attention. I'm just so curious, Kevin, to hear your opinion of why if the F-150 is so popular and best-selling, and we know it is, why hasn't the electric version been a smash success? Matt and I have discussed this, but I want to hear from you as an analyst. What's your take on that?
Yeah, and I think if you look at F-150 or even the entire F-Series, there's a lot of fleet and meaning commercial. And those buyers, when you think about the commercial buyer, you've built a business around the capabilities of those vehicles, right? So when you look at something like F-Series, and let's say they'll report 20, 25, 30% fleet sales, those are your contractors and building maintenance. So that business is built on the capability of that vehicle, which is why you're not going to get a lot of movement between not only Ford and F-150 Lightning, but to Silverado or Sierra or Cybertruck.
I will say that my Raptor, which was the first generation with the 6.2-liter V8, is still my favorite car of all time that I've ever owned. And that includes a 911 and includes a G-Wagon.
The G? Oh, no,
It includes my Challenger, which I love right now.
This is heresy.
No, because it was just, Hannah, it was so versatile. I did a lot of stuff. I was hauling motorcycles around a lot. Funnily enough, because it was the Raptor trim, it didn't really have enough payload for a cord of wood, which I found super annoying. I still put a cord of wood in the bed. My wife loved it. It was great in all weather. It was just such a cool truck. But having said that, I then bought a Chevy truck years later. I love Ford. I loved Alan Mulally dearly. I love Farley and the whole crew. but I saw on the ZR2 something that I thought I would like, and brand loyalty didn't stop me from reaching across the aisle, you know?
We're not in the market where we were just buying the deal as consumers the way we did pre-pandemic, just because the deals aren't there the way they used to be, because inventory is a little bit more rational than it was pre-pandemic, say 2019 and earlier. But you're not using it, it's your knock-around truck, right? Like you said, you're throwing bikes in the back of it. You may be pulling some things every once in a while. Couple of bags of mulch in the spring.
Exactly. So. It was my dad truck.
I was going to say, I think we can agree Matt's not the typical truck buyer, probably. And that's great. We love you for it.
I feel like you could get the same amount of use out of a truck as I would, Hannah. But
definitely with the dog.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like a big piece of property that I'm constantly buying plants and going to buy soil and weird tools and stuff. Of course. That's like honestly not that much. I could probably do the same with
It's fun though. It's big, and you can build a little bit of a hobby around it. You can make yourself a go bag, and you can be kind of a prepper.
It is a lifestyle choice. Yeah, I'm not there yet, but if I buy property in Pioneer Town or Yucca Valley, feel free to alert somebody.
So, Kevin, is there a reason you think that Americans gravitate toward this truck more than any other? Like, is there something that the F-150 does right that everyone else gets wrong? I will say that at the end of the ownership of both, I far prefer the F-150. Just everything about it was easier to use and worked better, and I felt like was built with a higher quality standard.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just looked at the numbers, and through November for Ford, that's like a 740,000 unit run rate. If you want to combine Silverado and Sierra, it's a little bit more. Maybe by about 820,000 units. So it's not like anybody's doing anything wrong per se. I mean, they're selling a lot of units there. But look, I've said this for years, that's where the money is. I think we have a tendency to look at things from a consumer's perspective, thinking, oh, it's capable and there's great utility and it's rugged and I'm cool dad in it and whatever. But at the end of the day, as a manufacturer, that's where you want the consumer to go. So there's a lot of ways to do that, right? You make really good trucks and you make some other stuff like, not profitable coupes and sedans that aren't as good. And I say, like, you're the perfect example that I give that segment, full-size pickup, which is, F-Series, it's Silverado, Sierra, it's Ram, Tundra, Titan, which are 4 or 5% of that segment, is the largest in the U.S. by retail revenue, by a wide margin, by a lot, which if you think about it is almost ridiculous. That's what, not only are commercial buyers buying, but the regular suburban dad is driving full size. I mean, I can walk down my street here in suburban outside of Princeton, New Jersey, and there's 150s in almost every driveway.
So just on another topic completely, and Matt and I are going to talk about this too, but what are you looking forward to driving next year?
I'm a very analog person.
Of course.
My son just picked up an older ML55, really the first fast truck, I think, from Mercedes. And that's his knock around, right? He's got his little Roadster SL convertible, and now he wanted a knock around for the winter.
Man, you guys love Mercedes. You are very brand loyal because you have at least one, right?
I have a V12 SL.
Yeah.
He has a V8 SL, and now the ML55. So
I think those are coming up too.
You know what? Yeah. That M113 engine that's in his SL500, which was my car for about 7 years. I kind of gifted it to him as a graduation present.
Good dad.
There's so few things left, right? Camaro's dead now.
You say that with a certain twinge.
Challenger's dead. Dude, my Challenger, by the way, my Challenger was built on a Mercedes platform, right? It's on the W220 platform or whatever.
Daimler Chrysler days.
Yeah.
But, and I was a big Trans Am guy. I was an F-body guy, but not the Camaro side. I was the Trans Am side. So, that makes me sad that the fire breathers are kind of going away. And look, I get it, right? We've talked about it, Matt. Fast is fast. So you make an electric Challenger or Charger and you can, blast around town or whatever. I don't know. It's just not the same to me.
I agree. I don't think fast is fast. I don't care if your electric car goes 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds, and it takes me 6.5. I'm having a lot more fun with a big naturally aspirated V8.
I think fast is fast. I mean, it's nice to be in front. That's what I'm going to say. It's nice to be in front.
I need the vibes and the smell and the sound. And
enjoy it. You can enjoy that back there. I'll see you. See you later.
I mean, and look, there's a lot more to, and it's sort of whatever you're into.
What are you looking forward to in 2024? Like, what are you excited to test drive?
He's reaching. I feel that I sense that he's reaching, which is telling.
Yeah. Monterey Car Week, we saw Spectre, which was really cool.
The RollsRoyce.
The RollsRoyce electric coupe. Yep.
And Hannah's driven it already.
Yep.
Have you driven it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's the range? What's the range on Spectre? Because I had like a little Instagram argument with people about it this week. To me, if I'm paying $500,000 for a car, it's got to have decent range. It's got to do as well as like a GM product, and it doesn't even come close to what the Escalade EV is going to be. Right, Hannah?
Yeah,
it's only like 100 miles or something ridiculous.
I was gonna say it's less. It's not competitive. I mean, that's just the honest truth. The range is not competitive. But then again, as Rolls-Royce will very happily remind you, most of their customers are not going to be driving 300 miles a day. They're going to be driving 50 or 60 miles around London and then go back home to their estate.
It's a good point. Car and Driver says it'll get 264 to 291 miles. So,
And what's amazing is that you drive any other Rolls-Royce with the bi-turbo V12 and it feels electric anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Imperceptible difference, really.
Smooth. Yeah. It's amazing that it's almost the same driving experience with a completely different drivetrain.
But if I'm on a Ghost or a Cullinan, I can pull up to any gas station in the country, and they are plentiful, and be on my way in 5 to 10 minutes, right? Which is very different than if I go to Electrify America. 4 of their 6 chargers are broken. 2 of them are already being used and running slow.
I would say, and I say this as we just published my favorite cars that I drove in 2023, and Spectre's on that list. And I would gently remind you that anybody who can spend $500,000 on a Rolls-Royce has a charger at home. So I don't think they're going to be pulling into, the 7-Eleven with broken chargers on the side.
Fair point. All right, awesome. Kevin, dude, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, so that was Kevin Tynan, our star automotive analyst from Bloomberg Intelligence, talking to me and Hannah about Ford and GM and his cars and what he's looking forward to in 2024. Why don't we pick up where he left off, Hannah? The Spectre is one you'll be able to buy in 2024. I'm sure he'll be test driving it since his son works for Rolls-Royce. And I know you loved it for 2023.
Yeah.
What are you looking for 2024? Give me one of your...
You're going to be happy about this, and this is kind of with a caveat because the car has already debuted, but we haven't really seen deliveries, and it's the Corvette Eay, which you'll be happy to hear about because it's a hybrid, and I know you love hybrids. I haven't driven it yet, but this is basically Chevy saying we're going to put this is not a plug-in. We're going to put a hybrid motor in along with the V8, and it's not going to save you any fuel really, but it'll make the vehicle faster. So it's hybrid used for performance, not necessarily fuel efficiency, which is an interesting philosophy.
Which is like the 918 kind of kicked that off in my memory. At least in my memory. This is the first time I thought, hybrid can be awesome because big gas engine and big battery power make speed, right?
Right. And it is, I do own a Corvette. I own a C3. I loved the C8. I still remember driving it just before COVID hit in Las Vegas. I was so impressed. And it was really, obviously, they made a big change with the engine placement in the C8, but I really, really liked it. So I'm just really curious and fascinated about this. Such an old brand, a long lineage involving now hybrid technology. How do people feel about it? And really, how does it perform?
I think it's really cool that they're coming out with that and that they did it. I am not so sure about the mid-engine issue.
Why is that?
Because to me, a Corvette has to have the motor in the front. And when I was living in Germany, I thought about this a lot. In my 911, sometimes at very high speeds, you hit the wrong bump around a corner, and the front end kind of lifts up.
Of course.
And that's like a pucker moment there, right?
Yeah.
And I would always think, man, it would be fun to drive like a Corvette or a big Camaro on the Autobahn, but they're just not. You just can't find them over there.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and that's part of my fascination because I sense that Corvette is trying to evolve with the times, and I'm very curious to know how this goes. I mean, the mid-engine is one thing, and now is the hybrid a step too far for these, fans? I don't know yet.
What do you think about the Corvette SUV? Apparently, we're going to see that next year too.
I'm a little more hesitant about that. I don't know in reality how it can look cool.
Doesn't it seem like, I am a massive fan of the older Corvettes. Your C3, the C2 is one of my favorites. I also love the C7.
I'm not with you on that one.
I like it, but I also think it kind of looks like they're taking a bite out of Italian sports cars. Like
Definitely.
Like they're trying to be a Ferrari with that.
Yes,
and with
no question.
With the Corvette SUV, it looks like it's kind of an Urus
wannabe.
I
guess that's where I draw the line. I'm not necessarily concerned about putting a hybrid powertrain in it, but I would draw the line with turning a sports car or a muscle car into an SUV. I mean, Porsche would never do that with the 911. Ford kind of did it with the Mustang, I guess, and I did not like how that looked.
No, I don't like the Mustang.
No, and it just is ridiculous. This goes down into a path, and I'm going to get on a rant just for a moment, because this goes down the path of words mean nothing, which it drives me crazy as a writer and as a journalist. When you are calling an electric vehicle a turbo, for instance, the Taycan Turbo, it's dumb. It's complete marketing.
Agreed.
And it means, and I will even go, where BMW sells quote-unquote sport coupes, well, traditionally a coupe is a two-door vehicle. So now when you start selling coupes that have four doors, again, I just have to roll my eyes. And so now when we're saying a Corvette can be an SUV,
so much, Hannah.
Right? I get it's just very annoying, and it
Words
speaks
mean nothing.
to the culture.
At BMW, numbers mean nothing anymore.
Yeah, does anything mean anything? Does anyone remember time? Come on, guys.
I think the Corvette SUV is kind of interesting in that GM is making Corvette a brand, and this brand is now making an SUV as well as. Well, Porsche did very well with the Cayenne. BMW did very well with the X5, and I think they want a little piece of that as well. Mm-hmm. By the way, speaking of Porsche and speaking of hybrids, I'm looking forward to seeing if there will be a 911 hybrid coming out this year.
I got an answer for you on that. Well, absolutely not. No way. No how. So every time you ask Porsche, they just up and down the wall, they say they will not. Although we do know there's space in the 992 engine configuration for a hybrid motor.
And they're making a 992.2 that we'll see this year, right?
Mm.
And
do you know something I don't?
No, I'm just this is reporting that I've read in at Motor Trend or at Car and Driver or whatever, but they're coming out with supposedly a 992.2. They're going to have new engine offerings like a 3.6 liter a new 3.6 liter motor that'll be naturally aspirated than GTS reportedly and will be turbocharged in the higher trim levels. And I also think that they can put in a 48 volt system. They can make it a mild hybrid without being too offensive, right? Or do you disagree?
Actually, I will agree with you on that point because I'm looking at what I wrote down for the second vehicle that I'm looking forward to driving this year.
Yeah.
I'll just jump to it.
Go for it.
Which is the electric 718 from Porsche, which is going to replace the Cayman and the Boxster. So my sense is Porsche will never do a fully electric 911 because that's the crown jewel, and they'll hold out as long as they possibly can.
They say they won't do it so many times that they can't really do it unless someone important dies.
Right, but but they will completely electrify. This will be the first two-door electric Porsche, the 718, the EV 718.
By the way, that was a reference to Sergio Marchionne, because I remember when he used to say that Ferrari will never make an SUV.
Yes.
And anyway, I don't believe they'll make an electric 911, but I think that they can put a strong, even an 800-volt architecture in it, and a battery that works like the KERS system, So it's like a boost. Anyway, it'll be cool if they do it, and I'm looking forward to seeing.
I guess my reaction, I'm going to temper it and say, now I'm remembering they've left a caveat in there for a hybrid in the 911.
Maybe not everyone consider it a hybrid because it's not plug-in, but just mild. And mild hybrid I'm a fan of those. All right, I'm looking forward to, speaking of hybrids again, new trucks out of Ram. Stellantis has been an amazing performer in the stock market ever since they came together. They were the second best stock of 2023 after Tesla. And it's interesting because some of their brands, their American brands at least, are just dying away, right? Dodge is only going to have the Durango and the Hornet, which is really...
I know you're a fan.
And Chrysler's only going to have the Pacifica at the 300C. The last one rolled off the line last week. So, but they do have Jeep and Ram, which are very profitable. They just need to grow, right? The TRX 2024 is the last year for the TRX, which I love that truck so much. And Ram trucks really, I think, surprised the world over the last 5 or 6 years by making a transition to full luxury. The interiors are better than anything that Ford or Chevy offers. And now they're going to come out with hybrid and electric trucks. They have an electric truck coming out in 2024, I think in Q4, the REV, which will have only 350 miles of range. It's a lot, I think, but it's not as much as GM is proven capable of. But even cooler, they're going to have the Ram Charger, which may not come out until the end or the beginning of 2025. But that has a separate Pentastar V6, which isn't mechanically connected to the drivetrain. So the only
Why is that important?
Because it charges the battery for you, and it allows for 690 miles of range on a full charge and I guess a full tank. Crazy, right?
Yeah. So how do you feel about, I don't normally cover trucks in my beat because I only cover the luxury brands, but there are a couple times when the trucks are priced like a luxury vehicle, and you touched on this a little bit, where the cabins are like rolling offices for, people out on the work site. And when the trucks are in the $120,000, $130,000 range with upgrades and options, it is really interesting. What do you think that does to the truck market in general?
Well, I think the truck market is so broad, and as Kevin Tynan just pointed out, it's everything from a 2-door work truck to 4-door. I mean, the Denali Ultimates are so luxurious. They might as well be Cadillacs. And the Ram, I mean, I definitely felt like that could have been designed by an Italian. I don't know who designed the interior, but I'm sure it's somebody amazing at Fiat Chrysler. They've done incredible work on Ferrari, obviously, and a lot of other brands that are so international. You can feel that. The price issue is something totally different, right? Everything's been getting so much more expensive, and that's part of the problem with the Lightning. I try and configure one for less than $80,000 or $90,000, and I have
luck.
Yeah, but what can you do? Everything's getting that expensive, right? When I first bought my Raptor, it was fully loaded, and it was $58,000 in 2014. And I tried to put one together when I moved back in 2022, fully loaded for less than $85,000, and I couldn't achieve it.
That's so much money. So much money. Yeah. Expensive.
All right, what else are you looking forward to?
Okay, so we kind of touched on the 718 from Porsche. I think the bigger question about that...
Wait, will they have the Macan EV also?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Wow.
And Macan is their best-selling vehicle, period. So that's something to really look forward to, and kind of touches on what I was just going to say, which is these new electric variants from Porsche will really be a test. And to see, does the public want electrified versions of these already well-known and beloved models?
Because they'll be fully battery electric vehicles, right? No motor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And now I'm like, wow, we just got done talking about the F-150, and we know it's very popular and successful. Obviously, fleet sales come into play with its popularity, but the electric version wasn't a smash hit. Now we're going to see an electric sports car. The Cayman and Boxster are already very low sellers for Porsche. So making an electric version of those two vehicles, how is that going to go? This is kind of a test. I don't know the answer to it, but it'll be really interesting to see if the public wants an electric version of their already basically lowest sellers.
Yeah.
I'm interested. So there's the 718. And then the last one that I'm actually really looking forward to, because we haven't seen very much, is the 2024 Polestar 3. And this is, of course, Polestar is the brand owned by Volvo that produces all electric vehicles.
Which is owned by Geely.
Which is owned by Geely, manufactured in China. And this is their first true SUV. And I think we could say it would go up against SUVs from Audi or Land Rover, something like that. I just basically want to see more Polestar because I really have liked the models they've come out with. They just don't have much out there.
Yep. And I think it's a really interesting story because of the Chinese connection, and they're going to move, I know, production to the U.S., which should help. It's a really well-designed vehicle. The first one was amazing. The second one I drove, and it was very solid.
Yeah, well-designed, well-made.
Very Swedish.
Completely. And what I really want them to get to already is the Polestar 6, which is their two-door electric roadster that they showed, I think it was this year, or maybe last year, at Pebble Beach. They've talked about it for years. They're saying 2025 or so to bring that out. And I just kind of want them to hurry up and, start giving us more stuff.
So one of the ways that Polestar is trying to get American consumers involved is by offering a short-term lease scheme that a bunch of manufacturers did a few years ago, and it kind of fizzled out, right? Like a subscription-based lease scheme. So they'll say you can lease the Polestar 2, and you can cancel at any time after 5 months, and you can switch to another vehicle. And so what they expect to do now is trying to get people into the Polestar 2s with the carrot dangling that they can flip it for a Polestar 3 in 6 months when it comes out, which I think is cool. Volvo does that as well. No one else except for Porsche in 7 or 8 states has a subscription-based service, but no one else does it anymore because it didn't prove to be a good business model. No, it was too expensive.
Do you want Netflix for your car?
Well,
I don't know.
The problem is keeping costs down on the manufacturer side. I think it's a cool idea from the consumer point of view, and we actually do it with my wife's Volvo. So I think it's cool that Polestar is bringing people in as well. I wonder also, when I look at this car, looking at the Polestar 3, it looks awesome, and I don't even ask or wonder about the performance, because now that we're in an era of electric vehicles, I know they're all going to be fast, and the difference is only going to be marginal, right? It's all about design and...
I feel like all of these new cars have to say it's a 300-mile range. This seems like the base level. Besides the Spectre, which that's its own thing, but really it does feel like 300 mile per charge is sort of the standard, and maybe in the 4s for horsepower, and then there's like a performance package that might get you above 500 horsepower if you buy the special thing, but that'll cut down on the range. But maybe you want to be a little bit faster and more powerful. This seems to be the standard offering now, regardless of the
everybody has to put out ours does 302 or ours does 307. You know, that is the case with the last car that I'm looking forward to for 2024, which is the Kia EV9. Which is so daddish of me, but as you know, I'm doing everything I can to avoid driving a minivan in my life.
I support this.
But I need room for rear-facing car seats, and in terms of the electricness of it, I don't really care. The BMW iX, I absolutely loved, driving it
Same.
and the handling of it and the power delivery. And that electric platform, I think, is amazing, but it is so fugly, and I'm not
hard.
into their interior execution. So
No.
I'm looking forward to the Kia EV9. I haven't seen one in real life, and I think you have, right?
Yeah, I've driven it, and it's actually on my list of my favorite things that I drove in 2023. I can't say it enough. I was really surprised and really impressed. We don't typically cover Kia at Pursuits, but they are making no bones about the fact that they want to steal Land Rover buyers and Volvo buyers, and I know you're a Volvo owner, so it seems like they're making some headway there because they've got your attention.
Well, it looks so cool in the pictures.
I know.
It has
looks
a range
awesome.
of just over 304 miles.
Yep.
It's not that it matters, but 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. I mean,
It matters.
for a 5,000-pound vehicle or for a 9,000-pound vehicle, I don't know how much it weighs, but it's huge.
It's cool. And honestly, I don't know why, but I kind of am curious to see it up against the electric Escalade. Not in terms of performance, but just the look, because they both are, 7-passenger SUVs. And I might almost give the Kia the edge simply in terms of aesthetics.
I agree.
In real life.
I agree. And, well, I've only seen the Escalade in real life when they debuted it here. I haven't seen the EV9, but it looks so amazing in pictures. And to me, both of these new cars have kind of a Land Rover, Range Rover vibe.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Good looking.
Well, I think that wraps us up, right?
Yeah.
For
what are
the
you doing
whole
for
year.
New Year? I mean, are you having a wild and crazy night?
I'm not. I actually have tickets to fish at MSG, and my
Wow.
wife has put the kibosh on that. She said, "No way, Jose."
I
We
mean,
just had a
she
baby,
could go with you.
not even 6 weeks old. No, the problem is, and I agree with her, whenever I go see fish at MSG in the last couple years, and I do whenever they're here, I get COVID. Yeah, so no, I'm just going to chill. What about you? What are you doing in the City of Angels?
Well, because I live in Los Angeles now, I'm going to do, hippie things like recharge the crystals and, drink lemon water in the morning and say a meditation and, set my intention for the new year. I actually,
That's amazing.
I'm kidding about the crystals, but I actually am serious. I was talking to a friend today about who had written out personal and professional goals, and I thought, that's a great idea, and I just might have a sit down and drink some lemon water and set some goals for the new year. So
that sounds like a great idea.
This is very unlike me, but maybe this is my nod to living in Los Angeles at the moment.
That does it for the podcast this week. I want listeners to know you can tune into my radio show every weekday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can watch me on Bloomberg TV from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Most weekdays as well. And I'm on Instagram at MattMiller1973.
And you can find me on Bloomberg Pursuits on Bloomberg.com. Sometimes I go on Matt's radio show to talk to him. And you can find me online on Instagram at Hannah Elliott XO.
We'll be back same time, same place next week. I'm Matt Miller.
And I'm Hannah Elliott, and this is Bloomberg.